Hey guys, Micah from blackbearcustomkydex. I have a video for you today on a rather large sheath system that I just finished for these three TOPS knives. So we've got the TOPS El Chete, Brothers of Bushcraft Fieldcraft knife, and the Silent Hero. These are three fairly well-known, fairly legendary knives in the bushcraft community, and they go pretty well together on a system. This is obviously very large. It is going to be very heavy. I got a guy that always comments on my larger systems on my Instagram posts about how we're getting close to like a Kydex suit of armor, and it's funny, but you know, this isn't for everybody. And if you're looking for something lightweight, if you're looking for something like really agile, something that you'd be taking out on like the Appalachian Trail or something, you probably don't want this, obviously, because of the weight that this is going to add to your carry. However, if you're just looking for a nice setup for, you know, three good knives, whatever size they may be, you know, obviously fairly large, it's fine to combine them. I think the key to it is really just to pick a carry method that's actually going to be practical, and that you'll actually enjoy using when you take this out into the woods or the camp or whatever you're doing. So, Baldrick setup. This is a sling I just put together for this system. Baldrick is by far the best way to carry large and heavy systems, in my opinion. Some guys like carrying it, you know, drop leg or dangler or something like that. Personally, I think anything that has it tugging on my pants, if the weight is more than like a pound, pound and a half, I'm just not going to enjoy that as much. And just the knives on here together total up to like 3.5 or 4 pounds, I think. So, you know, it's a substantial amount of weight that you're going to be bearing with something like this. On a sling, you hardly notice it. It weighs, you know, this weighs, actually I would guess this weighs right around like 6.5, 7 pounds, about the same as a standard M4 or AR-15, something like that. So, you know how it is when you carry it on a sling. You notice it there, but it's very easy to bear that weight. So, to me, this is the most comfortable, most practical way to carry. All right, that out of the way. Everything on here is Cryptek Typhon. The system is going to... sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. Who's this going to? Josh, down in Georgia. And Josh asked for some accessories. He sent me some accessories to go on this thing. So we've got, at the tip here, we have an Altoid tin holder. This thing is a bi-directional draw. You can do it either direction. Personally, I like to go, I think I probably prefer going out the bottom just because there's less chance that I'm going to encounter any kind of obstacle like the handle of the Silent Hero on the way out. But it doesn't really matter which direction you go. We have this Fat Boy, I think it's called, Fat Boy Fire Steel, ferro rod, whatever. It is huge. This thing is 5.5 inches long and 3/4 inches wide. So, gigantic fire steel. I put some shock cord on here. It does have a striker that comes with it, and they were tethered together by some paracord, but I took the striker off and just kind of put it behind the tin. It'll wedge in there really nicely. Stays nice and secure behind that tin. You can actually totally stow it out of the way to where you can't even tell that it's there. And then if you need it, you can kind of just flex the tin away and it will fall right out the bottom. So there are a lot of places like that on this sheath. You could do that right behind the tip of the bob. You could do it maybe behind this fire sleeve. Yeah, that might be a little bit too tight. Yeah, you can find all kinds of places to wedge it. Yeah, look there, behind that fire sleeve. Got it tucked nicely. Good low profile position. So just figure out what you think is going to be the most practical, the most secure and accessible, and rock it wherever you need it. Alright, so we got that ferro rod and the striker. We have this Exotac fire sleeve. This is a very interesting little thing. It's basically just a watertight container for like a Bic lighter, and the holder for it is a simple tapered cylinder. So as you put you can see this end here is a little bit thinner. As you put this in, it's going to bottom out naturally. I just recommend pushing it in until it feels like it stops. A good trademark of, well, whatever, a good place to know that the retention is good on it, you can grab the cap and draw the cap off, and the rest of it will stay put. How you actually want to draw this is just give it a little push from the bottom up. Maybe not that much of a push. Just give it a tiny little push until it comes out slightly, and then it's very easy to draw with the cap. And then the last attachment we have on here, the last accessory I should say, is the M2R Warrior. This is an excellent flashlight. It's got a lot of battery power. It's got very high lumen. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say this is over 2,000 lumens. But it's got a ton of different functions, strobe, a lot of light settings. It's really awesome. One of my favorite flashlights. Excuse me. One of my personal favorite flashlights. I own one. Just to give you guys, I left the pocket clip on his. However, I would recommend, Josh, I would recommend you take the pocket clip off for when you're storing it in this sheath. It'll work just fine either way, but my personal preference is without it because it seats just a little bit deeper and it gives it just a slightly better draw than when it has it. Part of the advantage of this particular holder, the way that I've got it set up, you guys know how I like to do it on my Baldrick systems. If there is a flashlight on a Baldrick system, I always set it up so that the lens is facing forward as you walk. That way you can just turn your light on and you've got both hands free to do whatever you want to while still operating your flashlight, which is a really nice feature. The other benefit to this particular flashlight on a system like this is that the widest part of it is actually the part that has the button on it. So your button is always going to be exposed, which means you can turn it, if you don't want it to have a chance of being hit, maybe you just turn it upward where it's less likely to ever be coming in contact with something, or you could have it turned outward in any direction that feels natural or convenient for you, and you can push it while your flashlight remains fully sheathed. So that's a really nice feature there. I'll swap these out before I forget. Alright. So like I said, I would just say take the pocket clip off to get a slightly deeper carry into the sheath and a slightly better draw. Alright, now we've got, you've seen the Baldrick system. This is just a sling. Like I said, I made this sling out of some webbing, tri-glides, a buckle, and I wove some paracord onto it for both for comfort and because you have a little bit of extra paracord to use if you'd like. The other carry setup on here that he requested was a trifecta of tech locks. So the tech locks on here, I'm not really sure how he actually intends on carrying with these, but you do have a lot of options as far as, you know, technically tech locks will work on Molly. I don't know if he plans on scout carrying this. To me, this is definitely too big, too wide, too heavy, and too much going on to want a scout carry. But hey, that's just me. So I'll be curious to see. Maybe he'll send some pictures once he's got this thing, you know, using it with the tech locks the way he plans. So I'm curious to see how he's going to do that. The Baldrick system is attached by single point D-ring loops. So that means that you can take that one screw out and move this D-ring anywhere you want that's got an eyelet or a drill hole. You can see this thing has a lot of both of those, so you've got a ton of different options. If you decide that you think the weight would maybe balance out a little bit better carrying in a different position, I would definitely recommend that you experiment with that and try out some different spots. It's not too hard to take this thing apart and put it back together. Just maybe take photos at each stage of the disassembly so that you can be sure that you're reassembling it correctly. There aren't a lot of ways that things can actually go back together, so you do have to be a little bit cautious with that. Trying to think here. Alright, so everything on this sheath is actually ambidextrous. You can see that there are these two plates that are on the sheath. Both of those are removable. They're just held on with Chicago screws, and both of them have identical outcrops on both sides. There's 2 rows of outcrops for a total of 10 holes per row, and that basically exists so that you can move everything around from one side of the sheath to the other. I had to do that to be able to mount the tech locks here, these two tech locks. You know, I guess I could have had them all down lower below the blade, but that would put the sheath up pretty high on the belt. So I wanted to be able to give you some adjustability here. You can mount, there's a row going straight across, and you can mount the tech locks through that row through any one of the 3 horizontal rows as you're looking at them. So you do have 3 ride height options per row of eyelets. There are 2 rows here, and I think you could probably find some creative spacing down here at the edge of the sheath. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can if you really want to. So because of those 2 plates that I had to make for the tech locks, that got me thinking, well, what if he wants to carry this right-handed Baldrick and right-handed Scout? You'll have to swap everything around to make the transition between the 2, but you should be able to do that. So I took the time and I made sure that everything on this will actually fit on the opposite side of the sheath as well. That is, that's a difficult task sometimes, particularly with items like the ferro rod and the flashlight and the tin. But you know, this was a really time-consuming project anyway, so I figured I'd just take the extra time and figure that out. What else do I have for you? Just the knives, I think, is all we got left. So again, we have the Silent Hero down here. This guy's got a nice, smooth, clean draw. It doesn't have so much of a click in. However, you can definitely feel it seat fully in. Just make sure it is fully forward before you let go of it. If you push it, maybe just push it with a little bit of speed when you pop it back into the sheath, and you'll hear it bottom out. You'll get a little bit of a click. If it's not fully in, you're going to risk, obviously if it's not fully clicked in, you're going to run the risk that it might fall out. But the retention is sufficient when it's in there, I promise. Then you have your TOPS-Pocalypse up here. Normally, when I have 3 knives, I would put the smallest knife at the tip and the mid-sized knife in the middle. However, just the way that all the accessories were going to go on this, it was kind of the only option I had, I felt. So the B.O.B has a really nice click retention, both directions. Very good retention, no rattle, no play. Same as the Silent Hero, but with a little bit more defined click. And then we have the Chete. Now, just to give you an idea, I did put some good retention on this. I'm shaking like a 6.5, 7 pound sheath, holding it by the handle, and that knife is staying put. However, when you want, just engage that thumb ramp. That gives you significantly more leverage, and you can easily draw that Chete out of there. It's got an exceptionally smooth draw. You do run the risk because this is a long sweeping blade, if you try to draw this and you put too much of an angle downward, you're going to wedge the blade into the crease of the Kydex. That obviously can happen with any knife, but it's more of a pronounced effect if you do that with the Chete. So definitely be careful with that. Excuse me, guys. Alright, so one last thing. I really try hard to make all of your systems one-hand operational. So as it's hanging on you, you can definitely unseat any of these knives and just draw it. You don't have to anchor the system with your other hand. You can even get all the knives back into their sheaths by just, what I like to do is I'll take my thumb and kind of grip the thumb ramp and use my pinky to help push them into their holders. But you can access everything off this with just one hand and get it back into its holders. So I think this thing came out really nice, but I'd love your opinions down below. Like I said, this is not for everyone. If you're looking for something lightweight, obviously you're not going to choose a 3-knife system. However, if you want a ton of gear, if you want multiple different types of blades, all of these have their own unique advantages and disadvantages, and I don't think there's really anything that you can't do in the knife or bushcraft territory with these 3 knives on you. So yeah, let me know what you think down below. Is there any aspect of bushcraft, is there anything woods tasks, camp tasks, anything like that you'd be missing? if you had these 3 blades on you, is there something additional that you'd need to bring? Maybe a folding saw, something like that. Hatchets, I think you could probably get away with using El Chete to take care of any kind of chopping tasks. Not as efficient as an axe, but it can get the job done for sure. But yeah, this is a survival system. It's meant for, I would say, spending a lot of time if you're going to be out in the woods for a few days or more, setting up a camp, living there for any period of time. This is a really great option. You can just pack so much stuff in it. You've got fire. You could pack your, fire starting material, tinder, first aid, mylar blanket, fishing kit, whatever you want in there. And then you also have this fire sleeve, which I know might seem a little bit redundant, but obviously if it's wet conditions, you might not have the best of luck with your ferro rod. And this actually can double as the fire sleeve itself. You could put any number of things into this instead of a lighter. So you do have a lot of options with this. I think the system has grown on me. At first I was a little bit put off by it, just because I'm not the biggest fan of huge systems myself. I don't like to carry really heavy things around when I'm carrying a sheath. However, things like this tend to grow on me after carrying around for a few hours at home, just thinking through it and getting to wear it and drawing the knives. So I've become a little bit attached to it. So Josh, thank you for being so patient with me, brother. I know you've been waiting a while, and I hope you enjoy this thing. For those of you who are tuning in, definitely give me your feedback down below in the comment section. Tell me what you think of this system. Is it too much? Is there anything that's missing? If you're going to go for broke, should we have added more stuff? I don't know. You tell me. Obviously, custom projects are built custom for the specific user that's going to be using this. So I hope this came out exactly as Josh wanted. And yeah, for the rest of you guys, I'd love your opinions. So comment down below. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think of these 3 knives from Tops. I love all 3 of them. I think the B.O.B is my favorite of the 3, but definitely give me your input as well. And yeah. Alright guys, if you like this sheath, if you like these knives, if you like this video, hit that like button. If you like my channel, subscribe. Definitely comment down below. I appreciate you listening to me ramble for 17.5 minutes, and I hope you'll tune in for the next one. God bless.